Hey everyone, it's Keela here for Soy and Shea, and thank you so much for joining me for today's video. I am so excited. This week I finally managed to make some soaps, and I was able to make some that I've been dying to make for a long time. The temperature, well, I say the temperature has dropped, but it's actually the humidity levels which have dropped. We're still getting days of about, well, today's been 32 degrees. Yesterday was actually quite cool at about 27, so I have been taking advantage this week and making some soap designs. Now last year when I was doing the gemstone soaps, I had a couple in my box, and one of them was actually a requested gemstone, which is to do an opal. Now before you get too excited, they are not precious opals, but they are actually still considered an opal. It is basically a common opal, but I wanted to still be able to get that sort of idea of an opal throughout the soap design. I didn't want to do drop swirls with soap, but I did want to get that colour sort of mingled through the white of my soap, because we're doing a white opal. And I've had a big think about it. I finally came up with how to actually do this design, and this week I was finally able to make the soap. So let's go and see how I make my white opal soap. Let's go. Okay, so we are going to start off a little bit differently. I'm going to start by mixing my mica colours, and I'm going to be using 5 of them today. I have got a little bit of Tuscan Sun to go in here, and I'm just using 1/4 teaspoon to go into each of these. So that's our yellow. Next one is a little bit of marigold, and all of these micas that I'm using right now are from My Mica Obsession. She does the best quality micas that I've come across here in Australia. Next one is Tutti Frutti, and I love this one. It's this real nice turquoise colour, but it's got this real shimmer of gold through there. So I'm going to put some in there. And then this one here is going to be some Magic Violet. And then the final colour I'm using, this is some Fuchsia Pink from Heirloom Body Care. So I'm going to put some in there as well. And then just so that these get a little bit of sparkle when they are in the soap, I'm going to add in just a little bit of the Blizzard Mica into each of these, just to give it that little bit of sparkle. Now that I've got all of those, I'm going to grab the oils which are from my soap here, and I'm going to grab a tablespoon, and I'm just going to put in a tablespoon of my oils from out of here. I'm going to be doing a mica drop swirl, but because I'm using so much, I want to make sure I'm taking the oil out of here so I don't mess with the sort of super fat levels. I don't have too much free floating oil in my soap. I might just pop just a little bit more into them. Now what I've got is a whisk from, I get these from out of IKEA. They're just in like where all the coffee cups and stuff usually are, and they're just like a little milk frother, but you can also pick them up off Amazon, eBay, that sort of thing. And I'm just going to mix my oil, and mica together. Those to one side so we don't spill them all. Right, now into my big pot here, I'm going to be doing this as a white base. So I'm actually going to add my titanium dioxide directly into my oils. I've got one here that is both water and oil dispersible, and I've put about 1 teaspoon in it for now. Let's see how it goes. And then into here also I'm going to add some more of this Blizzard Mica, going for that whole teaspoon in there, maybe just a bit more, because I really want this one to sparkle. So I'm going to get this one mixed in. I'm going to pour my lye solution in here, and then we'll start pouring. So I've got that all brought together. Now the fragrance oil I am using today, this is it here, and I'm using a new company that Boo from Moo Boo Melts and More put me onto, and it's called Eiluxe. and this one is called Carefree. It's got notes of vanilla, spice, bergamot and orange. It says it's got no vanilla in it, or no vanillin, even though it's got that vanilla base. It's not too dark a fragrance, so we'll see what happens. Maybe we've got enough titanium dioxide in there to fight against it. That is a ricer. Definitely a ricer. Let's see if we can beat that out. Alright, well, we've managed to beat that most of that ricing out. There's still some little bits in there. Alright, that is as far as I'm going to go. Otherwise, my Mica drop swirl is not going to work. But I have managed to beat that ricing out. It was actually quite bad ricing, but it has come out, and it's, let me just double check. It is remaining fairly fluid at the moment, so hopefully we'll be alright with this one. So, my idea with this one is, because we're trying to go for a whole opal sort of look, I want to try and get the veins of an opal going through my white base. So what I'm going to do is pour in about half of my mica to start with. I'm going to do all 5 colours into my pot here. So it's because it is a little bit thicker than I wanted, it's not going to drop too far. I'm just going to give that a quick mix, not too much because I don't want to muddy it up too much here. We'll grab the mould, and I'm going to pour in about half of this, and then I will grab, in fact I might not need to, I was going to pour the rest of the mica in, but I don't think I will need to do that. I think that is looking nice. That mica's come all the way up, just that little bit that's in there. So hopefully this is going to work, because I have had this idea in my head for so long to try doing lots of mica drops in here. It does mean I'm missing a fair bit of that oil from out of my mix, but I do use that I use about 5% super fat, so it's probably brought it down to maybe a 3, maybe a 4% super fat in here instead. I'll actually weigh how much oil I am missing, and then I can calculate what is actually missing out of here. It's got a really weird texture, but it is smelling really, really good. Alright, so there's that. What I am going to do is just put an extra couple of little drops of colour just on the top to swirl through. Now, just while I'm doing that, so as I said, we are using opal today, and I'm using a white opal. It's meant to represent the crown heart and the thymus chakra, and it's associated with both Libra and Scorpio. It's got a lot of earth and water elements to it, and for a long time it was considered to be the birthstone of people born in October, though now I believe that has actually changed to a different stone, but I don't know why. It's a new age stone. It's a stone of inspiration, and it helps to adapt to Earth's changes and brings inner balance and helps you accept the things that you cannot see. Now, the other thing that white opal can actually do, or any opal, is help with sleeplessness and nightmares. So if you are having a little bit of trouble sleeping there, you can always give it a go, see what it does for you. I am pretty much, I'm not going to go too much on here because I think this is setting up, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to get this to swirl. We'll find out in a moment. Let's see if we can get a little bit of a, it is setting up quickly on me, but I'm going to get a nice textured top with these swirls in here as well. Trying not to muddy it up too much. I do want to move some of that mica that's pooled on the top so that we don't get any mica stains when we unmold. And I'm not surprised that this Carefree has actually riced, because it does have quite a floral sort of note to it, and I find that those florals usually do rice on me. It may not rise in other people's recipes. It is all dependent upon the fatty acid profiles in your particular soap recipe, but it just happens to rise in mine. I am going to keep all that oil and I will weigh it out to see how that has affected my super fat. I don't think it's going to have affected that very much. But what we're going to do now is get our white opal placed on the top here. So this is the white opal that I am going to be using. Now unfortunately I could not afford to use precious opal in this soap. That is the opal that you see with all the pretty colours swirled throughout it. That is very, very expensive. This is actually called common or potch opal, and this is what they make the tumbled stones with. So it is actually still opal, it's just not the one that's got all of the rainbow lights refracting in them. And when you actually look into mining of opal, all opals start off as potch. That's P-O-T-C-H, and to the untrained eye it just looks like lots of rock, but when you've got that sort of knowledge of how opal is forming, people can actually see that where the rainbow colours are actually refracting inside the potch, and that is how they know which ones have that precious opal in. So we are using this version of it. It is still really pretty, and when you get it out in the sun, these white sort of bits, you can actually see glints of colour shining through as well. It is a part of the quartz family, and it is made up of silica and water. In fact, opal contains up to 40% water in it, which is why they pretty much associate this with earth and water. And that is how it gets some of its sort of colours and things in it as well. So the potch opal can actually come in a variety of colours. We've gone for the white one today because I thought it was the prettiest out of what I had access to. And it has something known, or it has an appearance of dendritic, which means that you see all these branches of colour that are running through it. That is just the terminology for how those veins appear. And they actually say that Peru has some of the most sought after common opals. So even though it's common and it's not sort of that jewelry standard, this stone is still very well sought after, and it has been mined since 4000 BC. So it's got a lot of history to it, and it has in the past been used to protect people that work with water because of that water sort of element to it. And it's for people that like divers, fishers, people who work in hydro plants and that sort of thing. They say they wear it to prevent them from going into accidents. It's found all over the world, including UK, Canada, Madagascar, and of course if you're here in Australia, you know we have a very big history of opal here. It's mainly found in Queensland, New South Wales and South Australia, and two of the sort of biggest, most well-known opal regions here in Australia are the Lightning Ridge and also Cooper Pedy. Cooper Pedy is somewhere I really want to go. They've got the underground hotel out there as well, and you can go and look for your own opals. Generally you are given a pile of potch to go through when you go to those sort of places, but it's still a lot of fun. So let's make sure I've got all of these stuck in here properly because I don't want them falling out. This is actually hardening up quite well. Now this is the first time I've used one of these Eiluxe fragrances, so I'm not going to make any judgment on them yet based on that first one, especially when it does have that sort of smell to it of one that is going to misbehave. It was probably a really unfair one to use first up from them. I do have plenty of other fragrances as well that I do want to try in soaps, but this just happened to work for this particular soap. They're not going to push in anymore. So that is our white opal soap. I'm going to leave it sit here overnight, and then we will be back shortly and we'll get it cut open and we'll see if we've got any colourful veins going through the soap like you would find in a precious opal. Alright, we are back to cut into our white opal soap, and it's looking very promising to try and get some of that real opal look throughout this using that mica drop swirl. And all of that mica on the top because I used the oil from out of the actual soap base, the sodium hydroxide has actually saponified that oil, so you're just left with that colouring over the top of it. I did weigh out how much oil I had left over, and there was about 20 grams, so there was less than 1% of my total oil missing from out of this soap, so it really won't actually affect the super fat or how that sodium hydroxide has actually saponified. And I actually put all of that mica oil together, mixed them up, and came up with some new colours, and I will be using them in a soap that will be shown in April, so watch for that one. But for now, let's take a look inside and see if we got a opal effect in here. Alright, so let's grab this one from off the end here, and that is the inside. I really like how that has come together. I have got some sort of glycerin river marks through there, but it really ties in with how the top of the stones look. So really pleased, and love how the colour is kind of washed through the soap there. Really pleased. It does give that sort of real opal look to it. Really pleased with how the colours have actually come out. And there is some sparkle in there from the Blizzard mica that we added in as part of that white there. I am absolutely stoked with how this has come together. It really does look like an opal on the inside, and you can see that it's almost gone transparent sort of look. So you can see that these patterns, to me, on the naked eye, this is actually quite faint, but on the camera I can see that it is a lot brighter, and it actually looks like the pattern, you can see it going down into the soap, so it's got that real sort of transparent sort of look to it. Really love how this has come together. Really pleased that it's given that sort of opal look on the inside, and that is the top with their little piece of white opal there as well. Alright, so I've just been cutting into the sort of second half of the bar here, and I suddenly had a bit of a thought about what all of these markings actually are on the soap. They don't really have that glycerin river sort of look to them. They've got a lot more texture to them than what glycerin rivers do. So what I'm actually thinking it is because the fragrance oil riced in this one, I'm thinking that is what all this texture actually is in here. But I'm not too bothered, as I said before, because it really does match in with that whole sort of gemstone look. But that is what I believe it to be. Now, ricing is just simply the fatty acids within the different oils reacting and clumping together when they come into contact with certain elements such as fragrance oil. So I'm really not too worried about the ricing effect that is in here. With regards to the fragrance, it has held really strong in here. So even though this one was a very naughty fragrance, I'm not going to judge my first ever use of this fragrance oil in terms of how naughty it was. I've got a few other fragrances to test first, but it is holding really well. Smells really strong in this soap. And when you actually check out the website for Eiluxe, a lot of the suggestions say 3%, and it's listed as 3% for shower gel and soap and something else, a bath oil. So what I'm thinking when it says 3%, is 3% of the total weight of your soap, not your total weight of oils. So when I actually looked at what the 3% of the total weight of my soap is, it actually comes out to be roughly 4.5% total of my oils. So that I've actually gone down to 4% usage on my fragrance here, and I'm really happy with how strong it actually is. So hopefully some of the other fragrances that I've got in from them will not rice on me, and they will remain just as strong. So I hope you have enjoyed watching how I created my opal or my white opal soap here. If you did, why not leave me a thumbs up and any comments down below. If you've got any questions, I will get back to you as soon as I possibly can. And until the next video comes out, I hope you have a great one, and I will see you then. Bye.